Oh, we're talking to Brianna Rooney, the millionaire recruiter today. Brianna, I'd love to learn how you got started.
Well, I was 22 and I was working in bars and wanted to actually have my own like clothing store. That's what I went to school for, and realized that you need money for that.
Yep.
So yeah. So I actually had a friend that I met at the bar, and she's like, "Oh, I do financial recruiting. Have you heard of it?" I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And so I get this phone call because I had my resume on Monster actually, and he goes, "Hey, have you ever heard of recruiting?" Like as I'm actually having dinner with my girlfriend, and I was like, "Yes." So I went in the next day, interviewed, got hired. The guy promised me like 300,000 a year, and I was like, "Yep, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you need me to do." And so I worked there for a couple of years, learned the ropes. What's cool, well, I guess looking back, what was cool is they just threw you in and said, however hard and fast you work is how much you're going to make. And I was like, got it. And then, I was always like really, I don't know if ego is it, but like I would definitely like to be, like the best. So I spent tons of time there. I taught myself all this stuff. I had a really good time, and then got a manager that I didn't super love because I thought we were doing things a little like unethically. And so I just kind of hit me. I was like, this can be done so much better. And I just got a wild hair at my ass and quit. And so my boss like freaked out. He was like, no, 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 like you can stay, like whatever you want to do. And it was just one of those things where you're like, bye. And so he's like, wait until Tuesday, because it was a Friday. It's like, wait until Tuesday and I'm going to make you a different offer, like go work out, whatever. I didn't have another job. So I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sure, whatever. My mom was crying. She's like, why would you leave this job? You're actually making money. And then my stepdad, like both my dad and my stepdad both have their own businesses. And so like, I just kind of thought that was where I would go eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And so my stepdad goes, wait, why are you just going to go back there? What does he do for you that you can't do for yourself? And I was like, I don't know, nothing. And I was 24. It's like I was just ballsy and whatever. So I was like, I don't know. I'm sure I can figure anything out, because I didn't feel like he really trained me. He just like kind of showed you the direction. And so he didn't call on Tuesday. And so Wednesday morning I started Techies, which is the recruiting company I built. So it's been over 11 years, which is crazy. And then we built that out, which was great. I had a business partner at the time who was someone that also worked there with me. And the benefit to him was he never wanted to work himself. Now, I say that as a benefit because he pushed me to build and grow and get employees that I might not have gotten or thought about to do. But then, we reached a time where it was like we kind of outgrew each other and we split ways about 4 years ago. So that's super exciting. And then, yeah, so here I am in the recruiting world, and now do the Millionaire Recruiter, which is the courses that teach people how to do it themselves and that teach the fundamentals, because as you guys know, recruiting, you don't get really trained, you just get thrown in. And
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give a better name for the industry that I love, and then did that. And then now even started Talent Perch, which is really the same thing as Techies, just with a different business model. So.
So what would you say to the recruiter who's ready to make that jump? Because for you, I hear you were driven, you really competitive, applied yourself, and then you woke up one day and you realized, I can do this on my own. I actually don't need the safety of this company.
Mhm.
And so what would you say to that person who's considering it right now?
Well, you do have to know the fundamentals. I think that that's super important, because I get a lot of people reach out to me that go, hey, I'm so excited to start my own recruiting business. And I go, well, are you a recruiter? They're like, no. Okay. So I do think you need your training wheels. I don't think I would have been able to do what I did if I didn't actually learn how to do it successfully first. But like, let's just say like that the recruiter does know what they're doing and they are good at it. You do need both sides. You need to understand the client side and the candidate side. But really, like the drive behind that is simply that you can't care to mess up. I think a lot of people like take that seriously. A lot of people get stressed out when they fall. They're like, think about it for hours, and you just can't. You have to be like a child who has no memory, just really quick.
Yeah, I like it. And so, Brianna, to give people that are listening now just kind of an understanding of Talent Perch versus Techies. So you've built Techies up and now you're working on Talent Perch. Can you just kind of describe, what those are, where they play, so people kind of understand what your experience is, 11 years of experience in recruiting, kind of, what you've been doing?
Yeah. So what's really cool is that when you work so closely with companies and hiring and recruiting, is we've developed with Techies more of a model that we can handle full cycle. Like in theory, we can work as internals as we're externals. I think that's the true difference as our firm, where I think other recruiting companies just kind of push resumes through.
Hmm.
So we got to learn a lot of the good and bad practices of hiring and interviewing, candidate experience, all of what that looks like. And so I did a different business model with Talent Perch. And the way that works is we are acting as their on-demand internal recruiters, because I think a lot of times companies just feel like they just need recruiters, and they overhire recruiters, and then they purge recruiters, and then the hiring manager that was training that recruiter to know exactly how to hire for the team is now upset because they have to train somebody else. There's just a lot of time that goes into it. And so I was thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, like, what if we just had, 3-month contracts, 4-month contracts internally to handle their coordinating, their recruiting, so the sourcing, the closing, all of that stuff. And then they don't have to worry about the downtime to train us. We're already trained. We know exactly what they do, So what's cool is that a Techies client a lot of times is also now a Talent Perch client.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask, just because I'm
Yeah.
curious. So is your marketing, is it heavier on the Talent Perch side or the Techie side? I would assume that, you start with Techies and you're doing that, and then you invite them to go deeper with you. Is that generally kind of how that's flowing for you?
Yes.
Smart.
That started for sure,
Yeah.
because we heard, and this is kind of gives me the money chills when I think about it, but we heard one of our biggest clients was using a company like Talent Perch. And I was like, what? Like, how dare you guys use, like, why? Like, why go elsewhere? Why can't we handle it for you? And
Hmm.
for some reason, companies can't get over the fact that even though Techies could have handled both sides no problem, they think that it's taking away from them in a different manner. So it's like they needed to hear that they're two different companies, which is really interesting, even though technically I've trained them all. So it's like,
Yeah, that's
uh-huh,
really interesting. And I just want to
yeah,
point out to people that are listening, something really smart that Brianna's done, which is when you've already created a connection and you have recruiting business, have a way for that client to go deeper with you, like engage with you more, having a retained service or a monthly retainer or some sort of offer, so that, like Brianna's saying, if you already have really good relationships, is there another thing you can do to provide even better service? And Brianna, was that just something that you noticed as you were doing it? Like you were doing the IT recruiting and you're just like, I feel like these, yeah, I guess I'm just wondering how you came up with that. You know what I mean?
yeah, two ways. So one, what I don't like is that clients don't let us handle all of their roles. And I know
Yep.
that and I get that. But they weren't like completely off, they were just kind of one off. And again, they would say, well, no, I need people to specialize in it. Or if like they would give us manager roles to fill, but not directors and VPs. So it's like, that's like practically the same thing. And they're like, well, no, we're doing a retainer for, for the VP and director. We're like, that is ridiculous. So I was getting frustrated by not being able to just very easily get more roles. And then something interesting happened. We had an employee of mine say, hey, I have this great person who's interested, actually, their work at this company and internally work with our biggest client. I was like, wait, what? So I was so excited. I'm like, I'm hiring this person for sure. I barely even have to talk to him. Like, this is like a no-brainer. He's been sourcing for our client internally for a year. And so brought him in. He didn't know anything, like
Huh.
not much. And so we're like, that can't be, because this company, which is now the Talent Perch model, is charging like 50 grand a month. And I go, how many deals have you closed there in the last year? He goes, 0. I was like, I'm sorry, but they've kept you on for a whole year and you've closed 0. They're like, yeah, I just build pipelines. I was like, but with no results. And I'm a contingency firm, so I only deal with results. And I was like, so like, whoa. So then I brought him back, which I never do, because I'm like, I have to hire this person. They know the inner workings of our hugest client. Brought him back. I said, show me a Boolean search for this client. Just show me 2 different ones. He like couldn't. Like, it was so bad. I was like, what? And so then like you hear like, oh, well, they just gave me pitches. Oh, they just told me what to search. Oh, I was just like, wow. So literally you're a monkey. Like,
Yeah.
so I was so blown out of the water by the fact that a company is getting paid this much on a monthly retained basis for someone of this caliber, that I wouldn't even hire. So that just made me be like, I need to do this. And then COVID obviously is awful. However, that did allow me to be like, oh wait, now everyone's remote. So because in Southern California, all of my clients are in San Francisco. And for some reason, they just really wanted like FaceTime with them. And I just didn't want to deal with San Francisco employees and Southern California employees and, like all this stuff. Because, San Francisco obviously gets paid a lot more. They're in the tech bubble. They're getting poached. I just didn't want to deal with turnover because I've been really lucky and I don't have a lot of turnover. So, yeah. And
just to ground this, like, what's a Boolean search, just in case, like, we've got some people who are like, what are you talking about?
Oh, great. Okay. Let's just relate it to shopping.
Oh, I love it.
Let's say I want a winter scarf. I'm not going to put in Google winter scarf just as it is, because you're going to get all sorts of stuff. It's going to grab winter and scarf. I'm going to put them in little bunny quotations, and put winter scarf. And then all of a sudden my search is more powerful. So on LinkedIn, when you're searching for candidates, you need to be really focused as to like what your jobs you're trying to fill and play with the Boolean search. So if I'm looking for a software engineer, I can put software engineer in quotations, and then add other things. So makes it more powerful.
Super key. Yeah. Also, who doesn't love scarves?
Right.
Yeah. So tell me, Brianna, you started mentoring, training, and teaching recruiters. I mean, you've been doing it for so long that, you've got so much information. So what caused you to want to start mentoring and coaching and training recruiters?
I reached a level in my career that I realized, I mean, trust me, I closed my own deal. I'm super excited, but it's just not that same feeling anymore. As a recruiter, there's highs and lows, and that's actually the fun part for me. I like to feel all of those different emotions. And so when I was closing them, it just wasn't that same high. So I was kind of chasing like a high in theory. So I realized that when I made other people successful and then their feedback. And I've gotten to see, this gives me the chills too, all of my main employees, like there's been 6 people that have been with me for years and they're all younger. They've all bought houses.
Oh, that's so cool.
So like, there's just like really cool, things that I've gotten to see in their life and their successes, that were beyond their wildest dreams at such young ages, that I just love to pay it forward. And actually I just hired a few months ago, my brother, who's 22, and he's like killing it. And it's just so cool.
Yeah, I love it. Tell me a little bit about the mentoring and coaching. What are some things that you see that tend to be common issues? Like, what do you focus on, in the first, couple weeks with someone that you're coaching and training?
Well, this has been an interesting roller coaster. So I think that I make it sound really easy. Because I do agree with the fact that I think anyone can be a really good recruiter. However, people forget that it's actually hard work. And they forget all of the different challenges that embark on it. And so they take it very lightly. So I think the commitment level isn't always there and the drive isn't always there. And so that's frustrating. And then also I have so much information. Like when I built the course, I then of course use that to train my own employees, which has been good and bad. I've now refocused a little bit, but I love going off handles and going off scripts and like going off on different tangents. Like if they bring up a question, I'd be like, great question. Like, and I'll kind of just flow with it. When I have something so organized and so infrastructure heavy, it actually is information overload. And people are kind of like, what do I do now?
Yeah, they
And
get
so
overwhelmed. Like deer in
super,
headlights, totally shut down, don't know where to start. Yeah, you have to really, I mean, you got to break things down like one step at a time.
yeah. And then I also realized they can't just do this all in one weekend. So like my course is technically 6 hours and people are like, oh great, I'll just jam it out. Like, no, you actually have to do something, get feedback, fail, and then be like, oh, okay, I get it. Because you're just like, if you just watch a movie, I mean, how much of that movie do you actually remember, right? Only the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the same thing with learning with courses and stuff.
Yeah, you're really talking
Yeah.
about implementing.
Yeah. Like I think it's crazy. I've had people reach out and be like, hey, can I schedule a call? Pay money for the call. And then I'll be like, okay, great. So what have you done so far? What struggles have you had? And they're like, oh, I haven't started. I'm like,
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that? Because I've seen the same thing. I've mentored a lot of recruiters, and
mhm,
it's really rewarding when the person is as equally committed as you
right.
are. So, do you think it's just a commitment thing, or what do you think it is?
I think it's, again, people think it's easy. And I think that, like, I mean, why are infomercials or pyramid schemes, like, why do they do so well? It's because you think you get a special potion and all of a sudden you're going to be super wealthy and successful. I
Mm,
think that's what they think recruiting is, because when you actually do a description of a couple sentences, it sounds super easy. Oh,
Mhm.
you're on LinkedIn, you get people better jobs, like that, like people don't
mm-hmm.
realize the hunt and the persuasion and the
The
constant struggle.
enrollment, the continuous
Yeah,
enrollment on the candidate
it's
and the
Yeah.
just
client side. Yeah.
that you can never stop. You stop, you fail. It's like yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'll talk to people and I'll be like, yeah, I run my recruiting business. They're like, oh, you don't have a product then, like you just, and I'm like, yeah, but like I do things that you can't do. Like there's like the art of getting people enrolled in a conversation and getting them bought in and positioning
Mhm.
things well and getting clients interested and getting candidates interested and walking them and hand holding them the whole way and doing that for like 10 different things.
Yeah,
Um,
staying in relationship the whole
yeah,
way through.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
yeah. I really like that. So let me ask you this. If you could clear up misperceptions. So let's say there's someone watching this right now and they're like, I haven't done recruiting and I want to do it.
Mhm.
What do you think are a couple of things that you would share with them to kind of help them make sense of that decision and just some kind of guidelines for them, if you will?
Yeah, I don't think recruiting's a part-time job. I think there's a lot of people that think that they don't have to quit their job, that they can just do this on the side. They have a few hours a week, stuff like that. Let's clear that up. It's a full-time job. It's more than a full-time job sometimes. I think what's great is like our office hours are super short. They're like 36 hours a week. However, you're on all the time. Like if someone
Mhm.
emails you later, and I mean, it's almost in theory of a realtor, but obviously you have way less hours, way more free time than a realtor does.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's something where it's like, when I started, I worked 7 to 6, like every day. I played in between and stuff like that, and I still had a good time. But when you look at it, those are long hours. Whereas we have people that come in and they're like, oh, I'll just do this 8 to 4. Well, if you don't check your emails after work, guess what? You're screwed because you're
Mhm.
missing. Recruiting is all about timing. So I think that's what's really important. Like you can go really hard for a couple hours and then the timing's, you can move on and you'll be fine because that's not when people get back. So I think that's a biggie.
Mm. What do you
Another,
think? Yeah,
yeah,
go
go ahead.
ahead. No, keep
Oh,
going.
I was gonna say another challenge that I think people really have is writer's block. Like I think that they want to do this really amazing, emails that are just gonna grab people in, and it's like these novels. It's like, no, actually, people don't have any time whatsoever. No one wants to talk to
Mhm.
you. They want something, give it to them. So
Yep.
it's like 2 or 3 sentences
Short
going
and
back.
sweet. Hmm.
Yeah,
That's our messaging for sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm curious, what's your main biz dev strategy? Like, are you heavily focused on one area? Like I know the standard, right? Cold email, cold call, content, most placeable candidate. I'm curious where you kind of weight those or how you weight those at Techies.
we don't cold call at all anymore. That's like out of our business.
Woohoo! Okay, can we just
Okay,
say
hold
like
on.
what? Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
yeah. So
good.
let's dig into how big is Techies? You got you said like 10 recruiters there, or biz dev and recruiters?
About 17 actually.
17. Okay. So you have 17 people and no cold calls. So walk me through that.
Well, I don't know if it's just because I'm in the tech space or what, but you know, everyone wants to email. No one has time for calls. I don't even think people call their families. You know, it's like FaceTime, it's email, it's text.
I've been avoiding this brother of mine forever.
So are you having, like, how many people do you have that are focused on biz dev at Techies?
5.
Okay.
About.
And when you look at their activity, like, are they cold texting? Are they cold emailing and cold texting? And then like LinkedIn, is that like the main out? Like, just walk me through it, because I will be honest, I have interviewed so many mentors with recruiting companies, and you're the first one I've talked to that scaled beyond. I probably interviewed maybe like 30-ish. I'm a big nerd when it comes to finding mentors and learning as much as you can. Out of all of those, none of them have scaled beyond, 5 or 6 people without implementing cold calling. So tell me about that more.
I mean, we've even placed, to really blow your mind, we've placed several candidates and never spoken to them on the phone. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really focus on like having intriguing like emails go back and forth, because I always think that here's the thing. You are not the most important person in anyone's life as far as like clients and candidates go. However, they still need you.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you need to do like the easiest, like least resistant thing as possible. The only time we talk to clients are really like after they've already said and signed our fee agreement. We'll talk to them on the phone. We'll talk to them about like the biz and stuff like that. And then we'll talk to them throughout like the interview process, of course, like that's not lost. But there are so many companies that can be our clients that if we seriously cold called, like we would never, I don't think, get a response. That's dealing with completely other beast. We have things that are set up, we find everyone's emails and then we put them into, like sequences. 4 to 6 emails is normally what gets people. And then those are like 2 to 3 sentences long. And a lot of the times they're almost the identical emails because people just aren't opening them. They're not reading them. And so we don't like redo things. Now we do send resumes that, don't have contact information and stuff like that on them. That appeals to them. And then also depending on like who we're reaching out to, whether it's like, the recruiting department or whether or not it's the CTO and VP, those are going to be slightly different. I think the higher ups that are actually technical want to see resumes. They want to see the caliber, whereas recruiters just want to know you're not full of shit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's worked really well. I think like 5 years at least.
I want to highlight this for everyone listening. Brianna is the only person I've talked to that has grown and scaled a recruiting company without cold calling. So she does teaching, coaching, mentoring, and training for recruiters. So if that interests you, you should talk to Brianna, because I'm telling you right now, Todd Dorsey, I've interviewed so many people about recruiting. I haven't found anyone that's built a system like that and scaled like that without cold calling. And that to me is super attractive. And like, I might just start training underneath Brianna starting tomorrow. Like that's amazing.
Well, now I want to talk to the ones that cold call. Like I'm not missing.
No, you're not missing out.
You're not missing out.
Who does cold calling, not missing out.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite part. I'm much more into the creative marketing and like, doing drop-offs, handwritten letters, coffee mugs, videos, like interesting, outreach, and then automating as much of it as I can. Like I'd rather just wake up and have a couple emails, and like right now I'm like, I only want to call if they've already written me back and said, I want to talk to you. And I go, cool, then I'll definitely call you.
Yeah. There's sometimes I won't even talk to a client unless they've agreed to my terms.
Yeah.
I'm just because it's just, here's the thing. Like we have so many like people that are like want to be clients or that are like, hey, we have tons of open positions. I don't even know how to fill all of them. So it's like, I'm not just going to hop on the phone with anyone unless it's a favor, unless it's a referral and they're like, hey, I really need help. Can you talk to this person? Then I'll do it. But I mean, they have to meet at least like a certain percentage. Otherwise, I want to talk to them.
So this is another thing,
I
like
want to
this
be
can
where
be the
you are.
future. Yeah, for sure. And it's like, that's
Yeah.
perfect. So like this can be the future. Like for those of you that are watching, that are like, wait, what? This is crazy. I'm just thinking about getting started. Like this is 11 years later. This is where you're at now. And like, just know that like, if you are committed, like Brianna's highlighted things, it's being okay with failure. It's having that mindset that wipes the slate clean and keeps going. It's that commitment. It's that making a decision. It's that drive. It's the, not only do I win, but now I want to see other people win and see other people succeed. So like, she's really clearly like built this pathway that you can see is like, this is where you're going. So keep that in mind if you're feeling like recruiting is definitely the direction you want to go in.
Mm-hmm. What's cool about recruiting is it's a constant snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you work really, really hard for a few years and then you can kind of sit back and honest to God, not work as hard. Now, if you continue to work as hard, you'll kill it and retire sooner. But, you know, like I have junior recruiters who look at this other, you know, I have a couple outliers, of course, in the company. And so one in particular, you know, like lives, sleeps and breathes this stuff, you know, and it's like, well, that's a commitment. And he's done it for 6 years. And so, yeah, of course he's going to run circles around you. I said, do you want to do that? Like, do you want to have, like, not have a life, you know, outside of work? Because that's what he does. But he kills it. He's young and he's hungry and he's buying all sorts of stuff. And then he'll probably slow down in a little bit, you know, before other people. So it's an interesting way to go, but you can go different ways, but regardless, it's a snowball effect.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Brianna, I know you're very busy. Your calendar is just full of people that want your time and attention. What do you want to leave people with as kind of well, first you have a gift or something that you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, it's something I started just recently. I'm super excited about. So I do have a YouTube channel, and you know, with the Millionaire Recruiter, that's how it all started and began. It's an e-course. But what I realized is I get asked the same question like all the time, and sometimes in different ways, which leads me to like go on different tangents. I'm like, oh, that was really good. So now I'm doing as a gift to you all and continuing. It's going to be a free month subscription to like the Millionaire Recruiter webinar that we're going to do twice a month for 1 hour to start. And so we'll see what happens with that. But you can submit your questions. We're thinking of doing just like 3 at a time, and then we'll just put them in the queue, and it's going to be live. And we'll have conversations just like, you know, you and I are having conversations, and we can do share screens or we can, you know, stuff like that. But I think at first it's just going to be like, you guys decide what you want and we'll just roll with it. Because I think that as recruiters, when you're asked questions, like I think that's when it's really valuable. But like if you are prepared for questions, then it's like, you know, you're all prim and proper and you're thinking of just one thing, when really recruiting is this giant thing that there's never one answer to. So that's what I think is really fun. So yeah, so as a gift, it's going to be free for a month. And if you want to continue, the subscription is $25 a month. Which I think is super cool because, you know, there's access to not only me, but my team. They'll come in a few times too, and everyone recruits differently. Like my way is definitely not the only way for sure. So I think that's interesting. And then we can all learn from each other and just build.
You guys, this is incredibly valuable. To get access to this, just scroll below and click the button. It'll take you straight so that you can sign up.
Yeah, and Brianna, what would you like to leave our audience with? You know, kind of any message that you'd like to give to recruiters out there that are wanting to get started and wanting to grow and learn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a biggie because we just talked about a lot, but I think if I had like one thing to just like really focus on. So if you like shiny new pennies, like I think many people do, like, oh, I want that, oh, I want that. I think this is a really cool career for you because that can like just embrace all of those feelings. Like everyone goes, I have ADD, perfect, be a recruiter. Because that's how it's really powerful. You have to go on tangents. You have to like think outside the box. And so if you have all of those different abilities and you actually want to like work hard and you don't care about like if you mess up, Like if you want to just, fly by the seat of your pants and have a really good time and actually impact many people's lives and companies, then this is for sure really amazing career, regardless of what sector you're in. Like I said, I'm in tech. I've lived there forever. But there's lots of cool areas that I think is really fun. And recruiting's recruiting. Like you can go do anything.